Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live. Live from Palm Beach as I'm getting over a cold. Let's hope I'm over it by Monday. That's what I'll use the weekend for. I just noticed something very exciting, and I'm going to tell the boys about it and you about it before we go into everything else. I've been waiting for this for a long, long time. I am a very, very strong believer that what's wrong with our education is, and what's wrong with everything that's going on with us is, communism has done what it can to undermine Western civilization, the greatest civilization that ever existed. And our universities no longer teach it. And I went to a college and I took 4 years of Western civilization. I got a Bachelor of Arts degree. I took 4 years of Western history, philosophy, literature, and art. Now, they don't teach it any longer. In fact, according to Joseph Bottom, and I'll tell you who Joseph Bottom is. I don't know him. He wrote this in the Journal today. He's the author of Frankincense, Gold, and Myrrh, a Christmas crestomathy. Look up what crestomathy means so we can get as intelligent as Mr. Bottom. So he begins with a very, very jarring sentence, which got my attention immediately. College students can't read a whole book, not a whole book, not without attention all the way through. Or so we've been told repeatedly. Articles in the Atlantic, the Chronicle of Higher Education, and Psychology Today have reported the end of book reading on campus. And so the end of what college was once imagined to provide, the art, history, and philosophy that gives the mind the mental furniture it will need in adulthood. Most of our students are functionally illiterate. One widely noted professor put it, unable to read and comprehend adult novels. That means, in addition to the failure to have the knowledge, it isn't the knowledge you acquire necessarily from the reading. That's important. It's the process. It's the process of reasoning. It's the process of deducting. It's the process of imagining. When you read a novel, you have to imagine the scene. It's a creative process. It's quite a bit different than just looking at a screen. It makes the mind a lot more active, a lot sharper. It allows you in the future, when you have to make critical judgments about what's wrong and right, and left-wing propagandists are pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. And it's so much easier to do what everybody else is doing. It's why you go along with it, because you don't know how to analyze on your own. It is so different, and it's happened to us, and we didn't know it. So I get to the end of the story now. The University of Colorado at Boulder, which is not by any means a conservative university, but a very left-wing university. And I would say, sorry, University of Colorado at Boulder, one of the worst. But the Benson Center for the Study of Western Civilization must have been funded by a right-winger, offered Professor Bottom a visiting chair in conservative thought and policy for the coming academic year. What he's going to do, he's going to teach Western civilization. He is going to have required reading, the literature of Western civilization. The English department of this useless, decrepit piece of crap university hasn't cross-listed the course, which means it won't count toward a literature major. They may be the only people who understand literature that ever graduates from Colorado in the next 20 years. They may be the only people who read books that graduated from Colorado. And with all the marijuana in the air, you better be reading something to stay awake. Remember, this is the state of Governor Feliz Navidad. I mean, these people are wacky. Woo, woo. Denver, more illegals per capita than New York. Mm-hmm. Oh, Aurora never had any, except what did they pull? 25,000 out of Aurora?
Yeah. High number.
These kids will be able to do things like concentrate, ability to reason, to solve problems. The ability of 18-year-olds to keep focused is pretty much impossible. And the faculties have all caved in. So they see their role as teaching anti-Western ideology, as histories of social evil, the evil popes, the evil colonists, the evil Columbus, the evil founding fathers, the evil kings, the evil English Empire. All these evil people in a world in which they were among the best people, if you looked relatively at what was going on in the rest of the world. They stopped eating each other a long time ago. A lot of them didn't. They started writing, reading, and thinking a long time ago. And they had one great advantage. They started thinking with the Greeks and believing in God with the Jews. In 1941, W.H. Auden listed nearly 6,000 pages of required reading for an undergraduate course at the University of Michigan. How much of that do you think is now read at the University of Michigan? What, classic comic books? No, I don't even think they get through classic comic books.
Yeah, I can imagine.
In 2018, Wilfred McClay tried to recreate that course at Hillsdale College.
Also in Michigan.
Yep, it quickly became one of the school's most popular classes, wildly oversubscribed. And they have a T-shirt saying, "I survived the Auden course."
Christemothy.
Pardon me?
Christemothy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a college for your kids, be careful. I know Hillsdale, everybody wants to go to Hillsdale, and I'm not going to talk you out of it, but there are some others, and we're going to try, if we can, see if we can make a little list of the ones that would be not damaging to your kids. It's not going to be big, not going to be a lot, but this is very useful. We're going to try to contact this guy, Mr. Bottom, and see what, and see if we can't find out what he has in mind. This is exciting. And I think a little more of this is going on than we realize. This is what we need, at least with regard to higher education. So, on the other show, I did point out that there is a bill in Congress to abolish asylum. And it would actually be really very helpful if we did. We don't need it any longer with the Cold War over and with really only one enemy that is perverse, and that we can't trust the people they send here because they compromise them with these huge armies of people they send over. And we can't trust them even more now because of what Biden did to us by allowing untold numbers of them in. Asylum is just a like a death spiral to us. So I think doing away with it wouldn't be a bad idea. The bill that got passed, the big beautiful bill, they're all away now for Easter, right? So they're not going to do any work on that bill for 2 weeks, even if the country needs it, right?
Yeah, that's a good point, Mayor.
Yeah. You know, I really feel sorry for those congressmen and senators. They have to work at least a quarter of the year.
That's like,
And I don't know.
a lot of time.
And they get no help, 40, 50 assistants.
Right, yeah,
That's about it. And then how about all the interns
right.
hanging around their office?
That's right, Mayor. Yeah.
Okay, so these legislatures, they do not necessarily work for the people all that time, but let me tell you, they are busy.
They are.
They are busy.
No wonder that they have to. There's a lot of money to steal.
Exactly.
How the hell do you think you sign up? How the hell do you think you sign up 29,000 people who aren't born yet?
Yeah,
I mean, that's not easy.
And with the comment on the staff, I think that the 20 somethings on the Hill, they could use a little more help, if anything. You know?
Yeah, they could.
Yeah.
They could have been taught how to read. That'd be helpful.
Oh yeah.
In school.
Right. You never wanted to be in Congress, hey, Mayor?
He's an executive.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Well, good thing you avoided that Senate race in 2000.
I know. I thought about it, and then God, luckily I got prostate cancer.
I didn't want to say
it's not as bad.
Well, they like to think of themselves.
You prefer the cancer, though.
Well, you know, the
probably.
I
Senate.
preferred the cancer and being mayor for a year and a half more, and it left me there for September 11. So God
and-
works in strange ways, huh?
God bless the city. Thank God they had you on that day.
Well, I think that's true. I do think that's true. I'm willing to accept that.
Yep, I was in 5th grade. I'll never forget.
Me too. Miss Lindsay's class, Fenton, Michigan. I still vote at the same
So
school.
Peter Navarro, they say here in the Wall Street Journal, but Peter, this is just a Wall Street Journal. President's trade guru Navarro is down, not out. Why is he down? Everything he argued for worked. They're acting like they were right. They said he never should have put the tariffs on in the first place. If he had done that, he wouldn't be negotiating with them for zero tariffs. And we'd be right back where we were in the same horrible position that the Wall Street Journal has put us in for 50 years. They are such phony intellectuals and people. Sure, it wasn't pretty the way it happened, but most of what happens in government isn't pretty. It was sure effective. What do we have? We have 15 of them in this weekend negotiating for 0-0, which they didn't think was possible. And if they were in charge, it wouldn't have happened because they're not as smart as Trump. That's why we elected him and not them. Would you elect anybody from an editorial board to anything? Nope. Peter Navarro, unfortunately, was called a lot of names, and he's a college professor.
Hey, we need you down.
He's a very, very bright guy. He wrote a terrific set of books, which, of course, they hate him for because it proves that the election was stolen. The helicopter crash. I don't think we learned much more about that than we knew before, except that it was a terrible malfunction with the helicopter. I mean, that is purely the sign of a defective helicopter. It fell apart. It completely fell apart. So unlike the helicopter accident of about 4 or 5 years ago where everybody survived because it stayed above the water, everybody here died. So that was the same company, and they're going from bad to worse. Maybe they should be suspended, stopped. Do you really have to take those trips over Manhattan? I didn't like, first of all, I banned them. I think it's still banned. I banned them from going over the city. If you, even when you fly out, you have to fly over the water. You can't fly over the city.
Well, it's a beautiful and surreal trip, I'll tell you that, but there's just so many people that want to do it. Right? But no, you've flown around New York City. How wonderful
I
is
flew around
it?
it all the time because I had to on emergency.
And appreciate the beauty. I hope you did.
Of course I appreciated the beauty.
And the
But
iconic
I also appreciated
architecture.
the danger. And I was flown by super well-maintained helicopters by military pilots who knew more about flying than 10 people combined.
Mhm.
And if there were 2 inches not available, they wouldn't land. We landed in fields. We landed in Central Park. We landed in backyards.
Backyards. Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
nice
Emergencies.
backyard. That's got to be a nice
Yeah,
backyard.
yeah. We landed at a gas station in Rockaway when there was a plane crash. No, I landed everywhere. But I was the mayor. And I was doing it for emergency. I didn't do it for fun. And my
Oh,
police commissioner wouldn't let me. My police commissioner, Howard Safer, who was the bravest guy I know, said, "You're crazy. Helicopters are inherently dangerous."
but so much fun and so beautiful.
Yeah, a lot
Single
of things
point
are
of
fun and
failure.
beautiful, but
And I think these helicopters, if I'm not mistaken, were manufactured in Quebec.
oh,
So
well, Augustin
riddance.
Escobar, his wife, and 3 children were killed. Global CEO of rail infrastructure, Siemens Mobility. It was a Bell 206L4 long range of 4. The one that went down about 5 years ago was a Bell also from the same company. So I don't know. How about we ask some questions here? A Bell 206 chopper belonging to New York Helicopter Charter in June 2013 was carrying 4 Swedish students when it lost its power and made an emergency landing. It survived when they were able to engage the pontoons. Number 2, 2 years later, another Bell 206, starting to look like a pattern, model chopper was forced to make a hard landing. It spun out of control. It also had been involved in a hard landing in 2010 and had faulty parts. So he has a bit of a record here, this guy Roth. So I have no sympathy at all. I just don't think it's the right thing to do with your kids. I hate to even look at that. I wish I had gotten to talk to him before
oh my god!
and told him how inherently dangerous that is. And how, why don't you look at pictures? The pictures are beautiful. I'll take you down to where the World Trade Center is, and we'll go up in that elevator, and we'll see all the pictures. Terrible, 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 terrible. But let's take a short break, and we'll be right back. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
Well, they're beginning their talks on Iran in Oman today. We saw. Do you have a little video on that of Witkoff going in with the Iranian terrorists?
Yeah, we'll look for that. I know we have video of Mr. Witkoff with Russian President Vladimir Putin, but we'll see if we have anything from Iran.
Well,
yet.
I mean,
We might not.
they want to describe this as an indirect. They consider talking to Witkoff indirect. The president calls it direct because the president turned down their request for indirect. But I do think there's a little play in this, and maybe that's necessary for diplomatic purposes. My real problem with this is it's not going to work. And if it does work, that'll be the worst thing because they'll be lying. They're not going to do away with their nuclear weapons. And they're not going to do away with their ancient desire to kill Jews and Christians, which they're doing as we speak. So all I can tell you is I guess we had to have the talks. But it ain't going to go nowhere. Productive. Ayatollah is not going to convert, you know. Do you understand why we're doing this?
Mayor, we know that with President Trump, the art of the deal.
But what's the deal? I mean, you can't make a deal with an irrational person.
Right. So I guess I'm going to ask you that question. Why do you think we're doing this?
Well, I have a best case scenario.
Sure.
And that is playing for time. And I think that's why he sent Witkoff. He sure as hell didn't send. He said he wanted direct talks, right?
Right.
Well, and they said indirect, and he said I'm not going to do indirect. But then he didn't send his top people, and so it is very legitimate for them to say you caved into us. These are indirect talks. So I don't know how seriously he's taking this.
Okay.
I think here's my prayer. Here's a prayer. I hope he's playing for time. I hope he's praying for bringing an entire aircraft fleet from the Pacific, which is coming now. Supposed to be there in 2 weeks, a week ago. So let's say a week, right into the Middle East. So we got two of them. One for attack, one for defense. So that Israel gets 120% coverage, and so does Saudi Arabia. Look, they may go after Saudi Arabia instead of Israel. I mean, Israel is pretty well laid out to embarrass them. Saudi Arabia isn't. They can flip Saudi Arabia. So I would be very careful to make sure we have installed there a nuclear defense or a defense for Saudi Arabia.
Caroline Levitt was asked today about the upcoming talks.
Let's see what she
Both
said.
the president and also his national security team who will be engaged in these discussions. These will be direct talks with the Iranians, and I want to make that very clear. I also spoke to the president just last night about his goal when it comes to Iran, and he has reiterated repeatedly to all of you publicly and also privately to his team here at the White House, his ultimate goal and the ultimate objective is to ensure that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. The president believes in diplomacy, direct talks, talking directly in the same room in order to achieve that goal. But he's made it very clear to the Iranians, and his national security team will as well, that all options are on the table, and Iran has a choice to make.
It all makes sense as Carolyn says the words. But now maybe I'm wrong. I only saw Steve go in, but sending one guy doesn't sound like you're giving these talks an awful lot of juice.
Right.
Are there more there and we just missed it?
That's right. Well, Mayor, I think what we're referring to, as you said, it does appear that Mr. Witkoff will be the one to go.
But only one? I mean, these are enormously constant. If you're taking these talks seriously, these are enormously consequential talks, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
you're going to want advice as he gets, you know that, from 4 or 5 people. You would want 3 or 4 of those people at those meetings so
Right.
that you can get alternative interpretations of their intent.
Right.
And he has done that before, and his understanding of how to make a deal encompasses that.
Right.
And I'm saying there's something fishy about the way he did this.
Well, I'll
But
give
is-
you one caveat there and say that we are stretched pretty thin right now. A lot of negotiating happening, a lot of movement, and the bench is spread pretty thin. So maybe it could just be a matter of bandwidth on the administrative side.
Nothing is more important than this, because the answer here is, if it doesn't work, you're going to go to war.
Don't you think the president is sending a message to Tehran with who he is sending for these talks? Maybe that's part of.
Yeah, I'm afraid the message he's sending is, you have time to jerk around with me, which is what they love to do. They're masters at.
When is it appropriate for the president himself, or maybe in the future herself, to travel themselves?
No.
No.
President should never meet with the Ayatollah. Ayatollah is an animal. Ayatollah is a mass killer animal. It would be like him meeting with Hitler.
So what? So who should be? If you were
First of all, the Ayatollah is not going to meet with anybody.
not the Ayatollah, so who should
The president, you can meet with the president.
Do we have like staff
yeah.
level State Department folks kind of hashing things
Well,
out?
it would be. I mean, if you
So-
were going to do, if you,
Yeah,
I think if he were really serious, sorry, it would be Marco, and at least headset.
Oh, that sends a strong message right there.
And then and obviously
Those two.
we're not talking about the Ayatollah, but the president.
Those
of
two,
Iran.
and Witkoff, and Steve. Now you'd get 3 different views. I wouldn't send more. I'd keep walls back to negotiate the 0-0 agreements with Navarro, and well, you need somebody who believes in them.
Right. Yeah, Michael still might be.
And somebody who
might be recovering from.
who isn't using the signal, who might let the signal chat out.
Oh, don't be that way. Don't be that way.
The president.
one
The president
mistake.
the president remains confident in Mr. Walls. I'm on board.
Hey,
Yeah.
same here.
I'm just telling you, this is not what you do if you think when he comes back, you're going to make a decision. You don't send one guy to interpret. I don't care who it is. Even if you sent just Marco by himself, you wouldn't do it.
Right. Yeah, I have a feeling there's some other folks involved.
You know the
We'll
president
know more
likes.
tomorrow.
You know the president likes opposite opinions.
Right.
So he would love to have sent 3 people who come back with 3 opposite opinions.
I love that.
Hey,
And
that's
have
easy
them
to
fight
do.
have them fight it out. You're a moron. You're an idiot. That kind of stuff.
That's
And it would look. I like that too.
Right. Right. That's
something
true
like
leadership
this.
right there.
Something this important, I would not send one person. So there's something going on, and I hope I've figured it out right, because this Ayatollah thing has to come to an end soon if we're going to have peace in Israel. So I want you to see a little humor here. The whoppers from the New York Post. I took out 2 of them. Thank you, New York Post. Here's the first one. Okay, first whopper. This is from the Times. Trinidad arrests have primarily been for crimes like shoplifting, burglary, and cell phone robbery. That comes from Rebecca Hansen, David Smildy, and Veronica Zubalaga from the New York Times on Tuesday. Liars, we say, leave it to the New York Times writers to defend a vicious illegal immigrant group. These authors admitted TDA is a dangerous group responsible for horrendous crime. But hey, no need to deport its members. Their offenses in America so far mostly have been small time. Just what America needs. Members of a gang that pulled off real horror shows elsewhere, but so far, only a small share of their U.S. crimes have been truly heinous. I don't know if I even agree with that. I think Laken Riley's mom might disagree with that post. How many kids have they raped? Gee, I seem to be reporting on rape all the time with them.
Adults too.
What about human trafficking? I don't know. Maybe you're getting too much like the Times. I don't know. Well, let's look at the next one now. Oh, we don't have the next one. We didn't take the next one. Oh, too bad. Too bad.
I can find it. What's the next one?
Too bad. Well, we didn't take the next one. So
What?
I'm going to read it to you. Jake Tupper, or Jake Toupee. What's his name? Jake?
Tapper.
Tapper. Oh, Jake. Tapper. I'm not the left, says Jake Tapper on Sunday. Watch the 3 straight minutes of video clips in a Weston Lensman tweet. It shows Tapper blasting Republicans as deranged, claiming they've eroded norms of decency, and charging them with demonizing the other side. Tapper even once suggested Donald Trump work for the Russians against American interests, and insisted there was no evidence of any wrongdoing by either Joe or Hunter Biden.
The party of deranged bigots. Do you think it's racist to vote for President Trump in 2020? A Republican from Florida who lost his legs, by the way, fighting for democracy abroad. Although I don't know about his commitment to it here in the United States.
We go through this every single time Republicans control the House. You guys can't pass legislation. You can't govern.
We'll see how much congressional Republicans are willing to meet President-elect Biden and Vice President-elect Harris on this field of decency and normalcy.
You can keep going. It's like 3 minutes.
I don't know why
Yeah.
the guy can't admit. I mean, it is so ridiculous for him to say he's not on the left. He's not on the left. He's off the cliff. He's a wacky, off the cliff guy. Trump. If Trump takes a ride out to Long Island this summer, he may see the beginnings of 54 giant wind turbines that are going to be installed in Long Beach, which is 15 miles from the coast of Long Beach. They're going to take care of energy for 500 homes because Cuomo did away with the nuclear power plant that took care of 20% of the power of New York. In fact, if there's a shutdown of power this summer, I will be the first to call it the Cuomo blackout. Now, he put a ban on these things, but this was approved before he came into office. The fishing industry out on Long Island is going nuts because they like to have fish. I don't know, fish is fish bad too? Can you not have fish?
Right. Well, here's a big problem and we'll share this video with you.
They don't like birds. They like the wind things too. They don't like birds either. They like killing birds, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, they like to kill. Well, this is the problem with this. It makes a sound. We got the video right here. The sound here that these things make. This is the problem. So it's disturbing the wildlife. These are the wind
No,
turbines.
that sounds like an execution.
Yeah, it disturbs underneath the water, and it's a big problem.
What was that?
Yeah. So that noise is very disturbing the animals and the wildlife.
They're crazy. What happens when there's no wind?
And then look at this. So if they want to say it's renewable, it's very disingenuous because what we're looking at now is a wind turbine graveyard in Texas. So this is not sustainable. We have to forge all of those parts. And then when we retire them, that's not even including the concrete foundations. I would say they're carbon negative, if that even matters. But I think it's just a big scam that they're getting us to spend billions of dollars on.
And I guess they rushed this one ahead. They rushed this one ahead so that it got in under Trump, right?
Right.
The NYPD is beginning a new quality of life cops to fight decay. This is very, very modern. I think the first time I wrote an article on quality of life to deal with domestic crime was 1981. How long ago is that? And then, of course, I did it in 1984. And of course, I reduced crime more than any mayor in history, much more than they're even going to dream of. And I didn't have to have quality of life cops. I have no idea what a quality of life cop is. I'm sorry. I know Adams is trying hard, but liberals just don't have common sense. How do you think a trendy agro guy is going to feel when he's arrested or they attempt to arrest him with a quality of life cop? Who are these quality of life cops going to be? The ones that can't pass the test for being regular cops? You're going to segregate cops in a quality of life? Every cop should be concerned with quality of life. I did it better than anyone. You want to reinvent the wheel? Go ahead and fail again. That's what you keep doing. They've never consulted me once. Would you think if they cared about the people of the city and the fact that in the 400 years of the city, no one's reduced crime as much as I did, they would ask my advice? But I'm a Republican. And the new police commissioner who is being installed as a saint and the mayor who they're giving a hard time to don't seem to think they need any advice. So they're now going to have a quality of life police, the Q teams.
There's an article from, this is year 2000.
Are they going to have?
This is an article from 2000.
I mean, are they going to have special uniforms? Special hats? I'm a quality of life cop.
Oh, Mayor.
So it's getting confusing. It's getting confusing for me.
Yes.
We have to return who? Which one do we have to return? And which one can we send to El Salvador? We can send Kilmer Abrego Garcia to El Salvador.
Right.
At least that's what the judge in Louisiana said. But he has the right to call the judge in New York, who doesn't have a right to interfere, but will.
Right.
But technically, we can get rid of him.
Right. Yeah.
And what about the other guy?
Well, so we've been closely following a number of these cases, and of course, Marlon Rabanalis Pretsanson is a 20-year-old illegal immigrant from Guatemala, and he's pleaded not guilty to killing his 2-month-old daughter, Lysaida, on March 7th.
Oh, well, we should let him out, right?
And so, yeah, that's
Is it only one killing? Just one.
that's a good point.
And what's it, his first offense?
That's a good point. We don't.
I think
know.
you should give the guy a break. Come on, he's a poor immigrant. How did he know? Just it was a baby. Look, don't you get annoyed when a baby cries?
This is a gentleman right here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just very disturbing. Very disturbing story here. There's Marlon.
Well, we'll be. Oh, there he is. Is that him?
That's him.
Let's take another look at him.
Oh, that's tough.
You know, he said the kid was annoying him. I mean, we don't have enough problems in the United States. Biden brings this shit in. And we pretend like we got to protect their rights. And what about protecting the rights of the people they kill? They're not citizens. They don't have the same rights that citizens have. When the hell did that ever happen? They're here. It's a privilege for them to be here. So they have to reach the highest standards, not the lowest. Mm-hmm. We'll be right back.
To celebrate the new year. here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers. Well, we're back, and this is America's Mayor. This is America's Mayor Live, and let's give President Trump credit for bringing in another hostage, and this would be Casina Carolina, who was released from Russian custody, where she was in custody for over 12 months for making a $51 contribution to I think the day before the war started, to a Ukrainian charity. She was in prison for 12 years. And we want to let the murderers out free. I mean, this is got to give you an idea of what they must think of us, right?
We have some video of her release here.
Yeah, let's show it.
Thanked President Trump.
Trump, I'm so grateful. Trump, I'm so grateful for you to bring me home and for American government. And I never felt more blessed to be American, and I'm so happy to get home.
That was freed ballerina Ksenia Carolina, who arrived last night back to the U.S. after her release from a Russian prison. A Russian penal colony, to be exact.
Well, war is still going on between Ukraine and Russia. And Russia has pretty much, we can look over there, Russia has pretty much taken back Kursk, which is right here. Let's see if we can show you this here. Kursk is pretty much right here. Let's see if I can get do I have one of those?
Magic pencil?
Yeah. Well, I think you can see it there. There's Kursk and there's Belgorod. See it? Kursk and Belgorod.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Kursk was occupied by Ukraine until about a month ago. And with the delay, Putin went into Kursk with the help of North Koreans and took Kursk, although the Ukrainians have held on to some of the southern parts of it. Now they've come over the border and they're trying to take Belgorod. And why are they trying to take Belgorod? To protect Kharkiv and Sumy. Kharkiv is the real prize for me too, because I love the people of Kharkiv. I know it well. I worked there. It's also the second most profitable city in Ukraine. It may now be the most profitable. Maybe not. Maybe not. It took a lot of damage too. So that war is still going on. time to calm Vladimir the murderer down, you know. The Tesla takedown is described brilliantly in the Christopher Rufo, David Reboy column article. Really more than an article, it's sort of an in-depth piece in the New York Post about the whole idea of Tesla takedown and what it amounts to and the three groups that are behind it, and how this is going to be with us for some time. Somehow, and maybe it's wishful thinking. I don't think it's going to work. I'm not 100% sure of that. I'm hoping maybe. The Chinese admitted hacking in December. That's when Biden, the traitor, was president. He never told us. We found out now that they hacked us. And at the time, they blamed it on Volt Typhoon, which was we were told it was a illegal group of organized criminals. No, it was China. They're our enemy. You get it? You get it? Zuckerberg. How about you? You get it? They're our enemy. And that's why all of their visas to be in American colleges should be taken away summarily. Right now, go home. We don't want you here. Go live in your godforsaken country. Maybe they'll start killing little girls again. Who knows? Now, Zuckerbucks is alleged to have actively helped them develop artificial intelligence. This was the testimony of Sarah Wynne Williams in front of Congress, which, of course, was not reported to you. Do you have some of that?
We have that video.
This document, Facebook is talking about making Chinese user data available to the Chinese government because they're going to store that data in China. Is that correct? But when you store that data in China, Americans who exchange messages or other information with Chinese Facebook users, that would mean the Chinese government could get access to the American data as well. Is that correct?
Through the POP servers, potentially, yes.
And Facebook was willing to take that risk?
Yes, there was a lot of discussion about this, and ultimately, yes.
I mean, this is extraordinary. This is exactly contrary to what Facebook has represented for years. Here, they're willing to build data centers, store data in China. They are willing explicitly to give the Chinese government access to it. And if that means that American user data is also compromised, they're willing to do that too. All for profits in China. There was virtually nothing they weren't willing to do.
How does that happen? We've lost all patriotism, haven't we? Well, how about loyalty to the United States? Treason doesn't mean anything. China wants to destroy us. Do you get it? A lot of people took a long time to figure it out. But any good American who reads, of which I guess there are a small number, will tell you that China wants to destroy America. So this has got to be an all-out effort against China. Throw them out, put up 200% tariff on them. Don't buy shit from them. Let's do what we can. We'll find it elsewhere. If we need to do transitions, we'll do transitions. In the long run, we'll be the most powerful nation on earth if we do that. And UK, will you just give up this big, giant, mega embassy they want to build so they can spy on you jackasses? Did you ever take a look at the top of the Russian or Chinese embassy in Washington? I think I have a picture somewhere of it. I'll get it for you. They're spying on everything.
Oh, yeah. You know, the Russians have that, they have the embassy. They also have that house, the consulate. I don't know what they call it, that house close to the White House. I don't know if they still have it. But they have like two.
Well, their embassy, I thought your apartment was right by their embassy.
Is that the embassy, or is
I
that
thought
like the
that was the
Russian
embassy.
consulate?
It's like right next to the
White House, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. I always wondered how do they get such a good location?
We used to really like them. They were very friendly with Roosevelt.
Yeah, that's probably when
Stalin was his best friend, and he was surrounded by communists. Roosevelt. You have no idea how the Russian and the Chinese communists have infiltrated us, and how much control they have over Hollywood, education, teachers union, Democrat Party. You go on.
They steal everything in corporate America under the sun.
And corporate greedy people. So the guy who killed his kid, I can't escape this one. This is Marlon Rabanoulis Pretzantin, who's 20 years old, and he killed his infant daughter, Lucida, who's only 2 months old, because she was crying too much. He grabbed her, he hit her, he banged her, and he threw her down. And he sat in court like he did nothing. Oh, this is much bigger than just illegal immigration. I agree. These are things that become impossible to understand, right? That there is such evil. And don't give me this, he's emotionally disturbed or, yeah, he's emotionally disturbed. But the fact that he's emotionally disturbed doesn't give him a right to take a child's right to live away. It'd been a lot better if he was emotionally disturbed and they did away with him and the kid be alive. Maybe we should build places to put these people instead of letting them out like we did 20, 30 years ago. There were about 20,000 beds for them in New York, maybe 30. Once they're in there, there'll be a lot less of this going on. I've got to go back to two stories from the beginning to remind you of, because we're gonna follow up on these quite a bit. One of them is Joseph Bottom, who's going to begin a course at the University of Colorado on Western literature, because kids don't read anymore, and they don't understand that Western literature is the richest literature in the history of the world. Now, I know you're not supposed to say that. If you say Western civilization is the greatest civilization in the world, you're some kind of a Nazi, a nationalist pig. No, you're not. You're an intelligent, well-educated person. That's what a very intelligent Chinese or Japanese person would tell you. Not a retard. Oh, you can't say that anymore.
No, you can.
You can't?
You can.
You can?
You're allowed to say that.
It's back in vogue.
Oh, good. Well, if you actually think Western civilization isn't the most powerful and the most positive civilization in the history of the world, then there's something seriously wrong with you. I don't know what it is. It could be that you're just poorly educated, of which everybody Ted interviewed last weekend. Those morons you interviewed last week that made you a hero, Ted.
Right.
Could we play one of them?
We can.
It makes Professor Bottom course a necessity.
Right. So let's play some of these. So again, these are from almost a week ago now.
Maybe next week we'll send you out and ask, what's Western civilization?
I'm dying to get on the Hill. Get me on Capitol Hill. Let me talk to some of these. Let me get some of these Democrat Congress people shuffling back and forth. Here we go. This is from Saturday in Washington. So what makes Trump a fascist? What makes Trump a fascist?
He does things.
You know what we used to call that when I was a kid? A shit-eating grin. The guy's got a shit-eating grin. Go put it back on again. I bet he hasn't read a book in a long time.
So what makes Trump a fascist? What makes Trump a fascist?
He does things without
Yeah, talk loud. I don't have my mic on.
I'm not really good into interviews.
Sorry?
He just does everything he wants, and not following laws, or he's a convicted felon. That's all I know.
But your sign says he's a fascist, and I'm just curious what makes him a fascist.
One of the things is that he's trying to control the media, right?
Say that again.
He's trying to control the narrative. Like,
how is he trying to control the media? Doesn't debate. My question is, the sign says the fascist Trump regime must go.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious what makes him a fascist. You pointed out that maybe something about his relationship with the media, he wants to control it, but
yeah.
How? Again, you're calling him a fascist.
Yeah. Well,
what makes him a fascist?
One of the core tenets of fascism is creating an enemy, right, and blaming those problems on
What's
the enemy.
that?
Oh, yeah,
So
the paper gave me, yeah.
Who gave you that?
The people that gave me the sign. It's a free sign.
Oh, someone gave you the sign, and then they gave you the handout. So are you reading it now to try to answer the question?
Yeah, but I mean,
can I see that? Can you hold that up?
I'm just not.
I'm just curious.
Maybe you can have it.
I can have it?
Yeah, you can have it.
Alrighty. So where did you get the sign?
All the way in the gatekeeper's house.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just pretty cool.
And that's another one? They gave you 2 pieces of paper?
Here.
Can I have that one too?
Yes, you can have both.
Oh, okay. So what brings you guys out here today?
Just because I saw.
I thought the funniest part, Ted, was when you said they gave you 2 pieces of paper. Ted,
I'm gonna get a haircut.
now, how does it
if I knew
feel?
you were
You
gonna
got to
have me
get a
on.
haircut. But how does it feel? How does it feel, Ted, to have done a tweet last or whatever we call it now, last Saturday, that on your own, before the big guy picked it up, did 1 million.
Yeah.
Plus, it's way over 1 million now.
Right.
And then with him, it went to 85 million.
Right. Well, no, I mean, obviously it feels.
And this is your second one. I mean, you did the other one with those little girls who I'm pretty sure you paid.
Yeah. Well, let's play that one now that we're. What brings you out tonight?
I'm here to support the NYU students protesting for Palestine.
Are you an NYU student?
I'm not, I'm a Fordham student.
Fordham, okay. And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU's doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free! I'm not either. I wish.
That
can't
is
make it up, right?
absolutely hilarious.
They're thinking.
And it just makes Professor Bottom necessity for this court. He begins his article in the Wall Street Journal with something that just caught me. I underlined it in black instead of red. I usually underline it in red. College students can't read. Not a whole book, not with attention all the way through. I think it's true.
I think you're right.
You know, I'm going to tell you something funny. I read a lot on Kindle now, but every once in a while I buy a book because I have to go back to reading a book. Now you're going to say I'm really weird. I like to smell them when they're new.
Yeah, not weird. I like to smell them when they're new, but also when they're used.
Textbooks, a lot of textbooks I like to smell.
I like old library book. I like old library book.
Yeah.
Or bookstores, right? They have that smell. And New York still has those
Or
old
even
style
the
bookstores.
paperback books that you fold over.
Right.
Yeah, and
Got
you
them all marked up.
pair it with a fresh coffee smell, and it's just heaven, right?
So before
Rudy coffee.
they had Kindle, which I spend a lot of time on, I would spend a lot of time at Barnes and Noble.
Exactly.
And I would do, you know, Kindle must have done a lot of research because they allow you to take a chapter of the book and read it, which is what I would do at Barnes and Noble. I would go and I'd take a chapter of the book and I'd read it. And if I liked it, I'd buy it.
Right.
If I didn't like the writing, I'd say, I'm not going to get through this. And I didn't buy it.
Right.
But those days are gone. There was a great Barnes and Noble less than about a mile from here. I'll show you where it was when we go to City Place. Okay.
Yeah, I got to see.
I love a good bookstore.
Yeah.
They don't. There are not many left.
Not many left. That is absolutely true.
At university campuses, I like to go into the books.
Yeah. You can read all communist books there.
Remember, we went into the Harvard bookstore.
The end of America, the decline of America, the end of Western civilization.
It's more about the smell, though.
Trump the bum, Bush the pervert.
Yeah, I can't even remember them.
That kind of stuff.
Hey, at Michigan State, our bookstore had business 1 and accounting.
They have
math,
accounting.
math.
They actually do accounting.
Exactly.
I didn't think you have to do accounting anymore.
These days, Harvard doesn't even teach. They teach remedial math.
You don't have to do accounting. Why do accounting? You can steal anything you want.
Right.
The 29,000 people who are dead are getting unemployment insurance. Must be. You think they send it up to heaven?
Right.
Or somewhere else.
Now I'm gonna leave you tonight because I want you to go to Lindell TV. I want you to go listen to Dr. Maria because you got a great show tonight, and I got a bad cold.
How did they get there? LindellTV.com?
LindellTV.com. And they could all go to Rumble, I think.
Or Rumble.
There are a couple of other places too, but try those two.
Right.
And she's got a lot of stuff that follows up on what we're talking about. And this is going, but by Monday it'll be back. And all I have to tell you is, thank God Donald Trump won. Wow. And boy, is he changing this place. And that's what all the ferment is about. It's good ferment. It's good. It's really good. We're going places. God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to